Hello fellow book nerds, this is Gabby and let's talk about some books. So it's finally time for my first ever mid-month wrap-up. I know I said in my March wrap-up that I want to move into more mid-month kind of wrap-up content because I have too many books to talk about at the end of the month, and that was true. And then I just completely skipped April because a lot of the books I read were for videos I was doing, like vlogs and reviews, so I just felt like I was just repeating the same content and I wasn't sure how I wanted to approach this. So this month, again, I have a couple books that I will be reading. I have read for videos and the videos either haven't come out yet or already have. So I'm still not sure how to approach this. If you could tell me what you prefer, if you'd rather just me talk about the books fully or just kind of more or less. But I've decided I'm just going to talk about the books, tell you what I think, and if you want really in-depth thoughts, then you can go check out my other videos. It's 15th of May, halfway through the month, and I've read 5 books. So I think we're on the way to read like 10 books, which is pretty good. So let's just kick it off. I only had one 5-star this half month, and it was Patron Saints of Nothing by Randy Rebate. It's just such a good book. I read it for my reading POC offers video, and I talk a lot in depth about the book, but let me just say it was a really powerful read. We follow a story of Jason, who is Filipino-American, but he grew up in America, and one day he finds out that his cousin back in Philippines passed away and they were really close as children, and now the circumstances of his death made the family ashamed to talk about what happened. So Jason goes to Philippines to find out what happened to his cousin and uncover the secrets that his family is holding. It's really a story about Philippines and what it means to be mixed race, because Jason is half American, half Filipino, and cultural identity, and it's just such a powerful, wonderful story that I really think more people should read because I feel like this is so underappreciated. The author of the book is also Filipino, but he lives in America, so it's a really powerful portrayal of so many important issues, and I would highly recommend it. It's full of amazing character growth and you will find out so much more about Philippines, so I would highly recommend it. Next up is a book I read for a video that hasn't come out yet, but it's on its way to coming out, and this is Forest of Souls by Laurie M. Lee. Forest of Souls is coming out in June, so I got an arc of this from NetGalley, and this is a story about a girl who's an orphan, and she is part of the Queen's army, and in this world there are 3 types of humans. There's humans, there's shaman-born and shadow-born. Shaman-born have different types of powers. It's really reminiscent of kind of Grisha, where different powers and different subsections of powers mean different things and they have different colors, blah blah. The main character finds out that she is shaman born and she has to kind of help with this disaster that's happening in the country. Again, for deeper thoughts, my video is coming, but I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. There was things I enjoyed about it, but for most part, I didn't like how information was portrayed in this book or how the world building were just so lacking. This book really could have done with more work on characters, on character relationship, on world building, plot structure. It all was a little bit lacking, so for that reason I wasn't really too hot on it, which was sad for me because I was really excited about this book. Next book, again, is for that future video, so I'm just gonna briefly tell you, but it was A Song Below Water, which is set in kind of alternative Earth where there are magical creatures, and we follow Black Siren, and sirens are quite feared in this world because their call can compel other people to do whatever they want. For that reason they have to hide, and only black women have been sirens for quite an extended period of time. This book was a complicated one as well. I really enjoyed what happened in this book, but I despised the way it was written. For some reason it just didn't connect with me. There was barely any world building, nothing was explained, everything just felt so removed because I didn't know what was happening, but at the same time everything that happened I enjoyed, so it was a bit of a complicated one. Okay, now enough with books I previously discussed. Then I read An American Marriage on audiobook. This book follows the story of an African-American couple who recently got married, and one day the husband gets falsely accused of rape and is incarcerated for quite a long time. And it's really a story about their American marriage and how they deal with it as a couple, as individuals, with the fact that they have been apart for longer than they've been together. At the beginning I really loved it because I felt like it had so much depth to it and so much to say. I think the second chapter is mostly compiled of letters that the couple sent to each other through the course of their relationship while the husband's incarcerated, and that was really powerful to see like how limited their communication can be, because obviously they can't just meet up whatever, and how it's affecting them and how each of them has their own perspective on this. I just thought that was so powerful, and I really enjoyed that aspect of the story. I just think that was really well portrayed. And when I was listening, because I was listening to audiobook, and when the letters were written out, I just felt really emotional because it was so draining and so emotionally taxing for these people, and you can clearly see that. The latter part of the book didn't have such a big impact on me because it turned more into like a love drama, if that makes sense, instead of a story about incarceration. And that was, I guess, less compelling to me a little bit, because I feel like it still had important things to say, but maybe not as important and nuanced as that. But at the same time, I really enjoyed the writing. I thought it was beautiful. The characters were, if not likable, then well crafted, and I understood their motivations and who they were as people. There's just a lot of gray area in what's happening, and you can see how each character's perspective really is nuanced, and no one's just pure evil and nothing's simple. And when you ask yourself what would you do in this situation, I mean, I doubt you're gonna come with a simple answer to this. So for that, I really enjoyed the story. But again, for some reason the second half was way less compelling to me than the first half, so for that reason I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. And the last book we have is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. So I read this for Asian Readathon hosted by Cindy from Read with Cindy. I actually read 3 books for that Readathon. So first was Patron Saints of Nothing, which was a Filipino author. Then I read Forest of Souls, which is Hmong American author. And then this one is by a Chinese American author. I actually went to Celeste Ng's signing, and she talked about this book there, and I got it signed. And honestly, the way she talked about the book really made me want to read it, because I just thought it was an incredibly interesting way. So this is actually the group book for Asian Readathon. So Little Fires Everywhere takes place in Shaker Heights, which is a suburban area which is kind of like a utopia. Everything is planned there, everything's beautiful, houses, people are well educated, all well off. Richardson's is a family that has been living there for generations, and one day their life gets kind of turned upside down when they meet Mia and her daughter Pearl, who just moved to the town and start living in one of their apartments. From the beginning of the book, we know that their house gets burned down, and we kind of go back to find out what's happened. And we also have another plot where a Chinese American baby is found in a fire station, and they get taken in by an American family who wants to adopt them, but then the actual mother comes back, and it's kind of a custody battle. So we have those two plot lines kind of interwoven with each other. I've really enjoyed this book. I would say it's like a light historical fiction because it's not too far in the past. I think it's like 50s or something, 1950s or something like that. Maybe later. No, probably later. 1990s. I'm not sure. They never, they either don't say the date, or I just wasn't paying attention enough. It was a really interesting story. There's a little bit of a mystery going on in there as well, about like the new people that moved in and kind of their past and that kind of thing. And I really enjoyed the way the information was uncovered in this book. I was quite hooked, and I really wanted to keep reading. I was engaged. I think the writing was really well executed, and it did talk a lot about race and class and what it means to actually help people and self-righteousness, that kind of thing. And it really has that small town vibe, but really well off small town, and you can really see the juxtaposition between the rich family of Richardson and then their new tenants who are much less well off, because Mia, she's a single mother and she is an artist but a photographer, but she also has like odd jobs and that kind of thing, and they move a lot. So I enjoyed that. I think it had a really interesting look at that suburban mindset and that suburban life, how sometimes that can be quite limiting for people living there, and also what people will do to just hold on to status quo. And I really appreciate how nuanced this book was, because there was never really a point where we were told what was wrong and what was right. Whoever you agree with is not 100% wrong or 100% right. There's no black and white. I didn't feel like I knew what the right choice was right away, but they gave a lot of convincing arguments for each side, and it's true for, I guess, the rest of the book as well, and I really appreciate that nuance. It was just a really complicated situation that the characters find themselves in, and everyone has their agendas and everyone knows only a certain piece of information. So I appreciate that that it wasn't just straightforward, and appreciate that we weren't beaten over the head with what we're supposed to think and some kind of moral. We were just told the story, and whatever you take out of it is yours. Offer in her signing as well said that that's the kind of place she lived, and she was like one of the only Chinese American people living there, and she knows what it feels like to feel like an outsider in that kind of situation. And you can really feel that in the book because there are multiple characters who feel like they're outsiders. I would say majority of characters felt like they did not belong. There were so many threads as well and different conversation to be had, but they didn't feel overwhelming. So like I said, I quite enjoyed it. I give it 4 out of 5 stars, and I would really recommend it. I am so looking forward to the live show because I'm so curious to see what other people thought. And then we are watching the Little Fires Everywhere TV show together, so if you guys want to check it out, I think it's on Hulu. Okay, so that's it for my video today. I really hope you enjoyed it. I know it's a bit of a messy one because I'm still not sure how to come to grips with wrap-up where most books I already talk about in my other videos, but I know some people only watch my wrap-ups and stuff like that, so I hope I gave you a good look. And again, if you feel like I didn't explain it properly in the video here, you can always check out my deeper thoughts in my other videos. Let me know what you read this month. I really hope that you've had a, well, this half month, I really hope you had a great half month of reading, and I'm hoping that I'm going to read many more books by the end of May. But that's it for today's video, and I really thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe if you could, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!